live the scene of a horrific fatality.
A pair of thieves bashed in her front door and started stealing stuff.
Protesters gathering outside.
Hard to believe it's Winter Weather Awareness Week this week.
We started asking questions.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 12 of Working Behind the Screens podcast. I am Nate Harrington, joined by Matt Galka in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm not sitting outside this week, and I'm also not matching your St. Patrick's Day green.
Hey!
But I will tell you, I made my own local news broadcasters bracket, and I put your name in every slot, and so you're the winner.
Hey, I'm in everyone's Final Four, baby. That's it.
That's right.
And speaking of, I had to give some love to my Florida State Seminoles, who pulled out a win last night against Dunk City. We're the real Dunk City, by the way, Matt.
You guys led the nation this year in dunks.
171.
Yeah, and Dunk City was 9th or something, and you out-dunked them in the game. So look,
we sure did. We sure did. So continued success and big shout out to FSU, and unfortunately, Syracuse.
Hey, we won our NIT game, man.
Hey, you sure did. You sure did. That's great. So you guys can obviously listen to the podcast on iTunes. We've got the YouTube video up as well. Also, all of our social media links and links to stories that we talk about on the podcast and old podcast episodes on BehindTheScreensPodcast.com. Go ahead and give that a look and share it with all your family and friends. Make them aware we're out here working hard, trying to spread the gospel of local TV news, not fake news. Real news, Matt. And we've got some real news from around the country. Some pretty funny stories. What do we got first?
Let's start off with the disgruntled man on the flight, flying to Hawaii, I believe, from LA. And there was a man on a plane, and he asked for a blanket. He was an older gentleman in his 60s, and he asked for a blanket. And he was told that the blanket would cost $12. Absurd. We'll get to that in a second. But then he says, mid-flight, they're over the ocean already. He wants to take someone behind the woodshed over the $12 blanket. So the pilot turns the plane around and lands back in LA because of this passenger. Nate, straight up, fact number one, air travel sucks. Worst thing in the world. I hate air travel. And it's not because of the plane. People are afraid of the plane and blah, blah, blah. No, it's because of the people. People suck, and it makes air travel unbearable.
I agree, 100%. There's only been probably one flight in the last 5 years or so that I've truly – well, there's a couple flights that I've truly enjoyed because of, the atmosphere, the flight attendants are joking around, having a good time. But other than that, everyone's in a hurry to get on the plane, and you're not going anywhere anyway. You got to wait for the last person to get on. So everyone crams into this plane and gets their seat and just sits there for 20 minutes. And when you're getting off the plane, everyone's up and ready to go, but they haven't opened the door yet. People are in such a hurry for these. Just calm down, everybody. Okay.
People, I could talk for all episode about how much I hate people when they travel on planes. I don't understand it. I don't know if they're afraid and they're jittery or they're first-time travelers or whatever. But you have the people who stand. They say, "Okay, now boarding first class now," and everybody stands up like I'm in usually zone 3, the last class. Everybody stands up like they're going to get on the plane any faster, or the plane's going to leave without them. Then when you get in, people are fiddling with the overhead bins, moving everybody else's crap around, like being rough with it, like just like shaking it. And I get so angry. I don't understand. And then everybody's in such a bad mood. And I hate traveling. And I've never, it's not like I have traveled private. I don't know what that's like. I'm sure it's next and accommodating it is. But I gotten off a plane or like never been afraid to fly or anything like that, but I dread flying because of the people. And this guy, $12 for a blanket is ridiculous. I'm with this guy, okay? $12 for a blanket. If I'm paying $12, I better be having a meal. I don't need to pay $12 for a blanket. I would have given the guy a hoodie or a sweatshirt. I don't know, but it's ridiculous. But then he's in a pissed off mood, so he's gonna take someone behind the woodshed because he's in his 60s, and that's what they used to say back then when he was cutting a switch. And then the more ridiculous thing is they land the plane because of this. This is so absurd on so many levels.
I just want you to keep going.
This whole story sums up everything I hate about flying in one blurb. The guy got pissed off because of the $12 blanket, and then they landed the plane. Because I guess they have woodsheds in the air now, Nate, and he was going to take the flight attendant behind the woodshed. This is so stupid. This is so dumb.
I will agree that people are a little bit too hypersensitive on planes. When you say, I could kill you for that. I get it. You're on a plane, you're a little freaked out, you're nervous, just like you said. But come on. The guy was in his 60s. He's old. He's crotchety. Just, sir, please calm down. Just give the guy the blanket, for God's sakes. Just give him the blanket. He's I don't know what the guy's circumstances were, but he's traveling. It's a long flight. Just give him the blanket. I mean,
$12 to the airline. What is that going to really?
So stupid.
Put you in the red? What's going on here? And then they turned it around. They were already an hour over the ocean, and they turned it around to fly back to LA. Could you imagine being another passenger? And of course, they're filming it. They got the cops that come. They remove him from the plane.
It's just so stupid.
It really, in this one story, it summed up everything I hate about air travel. The people, the priciness, the hypersensitivity. Yeah. Man, what a leadoff, Nate. Thanks for picking this one. Like, I'm fired up, dude.
You got that vein right here going. It's pretty pronounced.
I hate flying. I hate flying. And I like going places, but I hate flying.
You know what you should try next time?
Xanax?
Alcohol.
There we go.
It helps.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah, but they give me it's probably $12 for a bottle of beer.
Well, no, you know what? A lot of flights, it's $5 or $6 for a beer, for one of those little mini bottles. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible.
Cheaper than Yankee Stadium.
There you go.
Yeah,
and the mixers are free too. So I mean,
I try to
have yourself a ball.
I literally try to, and I recommend this to anybody. I take no matter what time of day, I take 2 Tylenol PM and try to knock myself out, because I can't sleep on the plane because I don't know, the other people beside me. It's not exactly a comfortable situation.
Maybe the roaring engines right beside your head.
Yeah, no. Some people zonk out. Like, I cannot sleep on planes, and so I try to take 2 Tylenol PM, and that doesn't work. It just kind of puts me in I guess I'm able to tolerate things. Yeah, because I'm in a fog. Yeah, this story, I mean, Godspeed to the guy. I do feel for him. They should have just given him the blanket, but then he got pissed off and he ruined everybody else's flight. So that's thanks America, thanks people. Continue to ruin every flight I've ever had ever.
Well,
I'm not even on this one.
you just sit in your apartment.
Yeah.
So while Matt calms down a little bit, speaking of alcohol and where you shouldn't probably drink alcohol, is the old ball field. We've got this story comes out of sort of my neck of the woods up in the northern portions of Alabama. Evidently, an umpire was calling balls and strikes while under the influence.
Yeah, they asked him about it, and he said he had been drinking before calling the game. I don't know. Did it affect his balls and strikes?
I don't know. In any other Little League umpire, it probably wouldn't matter too much either. So I've never really encountered in my years of playing Little League baseball, ever really encountered an umpire that was very consistent. We'll go ahead and leave it at that.
This dude's 24 years old too.
Yeah. Probably trying to pick up a few. Actually, you know what? He wasn't even trying to pick up a few bucks. He was doing this. This was a volunteer deal.
Yeah, 24 years old, and obviously the Little League, they try to distance themselves from him. He's part of the Umpires Association, and he's getting drunk, going to the Little League game. It's funny and it's sad all at the same time. Like, having a couple cocktails. I don't know how drunk he was. I mean, obviously drunk enough that people noticed or smelled alcohol. I don't know. Like, where's the wrong turn here?
Well, here's the rub of the story, bud. He evidently came off working, so he went to work. I guess had a few, and then started umpiring. He works for Huntsville Emergency Medical Services, HEMSI, Huntsville Emergency Medical Services. So if the guy's going to show up drunk to a Little League baseball game to call balls and strikes, what makes me think that he's not going to show up drunk to maybe a shift at work? Or hasn't already?
To an emergency medical service situation? Yeah.
Emergency medical facility?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, weird guy. Come on.
I don't. Like I said, it's funny. Okay. Oh, drunk umpire at Little League. Ha ha. And then, he's an emergency medical employee. Oh, and he was drinking. He just got off shift. Oh man. What are they doing in Huntsville, dude?
Have you ever?
It's not a Huntsville problem.
It is definitely not a Huntsville problem. It's just this week I saw it in the Huntsville market. So.
It's not a Huntsville problem. It's just, it's just a problem in general. Drinking.
Just drink on the flights, folks. That's all we want.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Just drink on the flight. Wait till you get on the flight with the other people.
Now this is one of my favorite stories we've done in a while, Matt. You agree as well. Out in Moraga. This is kind of in the California Bay Area. We know what a sinkhole look like. You lived in Florida. I lived in Florida. We've seen our fair share of sinkholes. We know what those are. Evidently, there's a big sinkhole in near a shopping center in Moraga, California. It kind of happens. The only thing is, this sinkhole has been there for 1 year. Okay, a year. The city's dragged their feet trying to fill it, getting the money for it, and all that. So the good folks in Moraga went ahead and threw it a birthday party. Cake, streamers. A handwritten sign wishing it a happy first birthday. You got to check out the video of this, and we're going to post it on BehindTheScreensPodcast.com. But Matt, what was your first reaction when you saw this video and all these people?
Okay, so the very first reaction when I read the headline, this seems like a good use of time.
Yes.
Like, I really thought this was like a serious thing. But then when you watch the video and you read the story, this sinkhole hasn't been fixed for a year. It has had a bunch of traffic cones and caution tape around it for a year. And these people were doing this satirically to say, what the hell's going on here? Can you fix this flipping sinkhole? So, after I watched it, I was like, yeah, this is great. They were eating cake and they had the card and everything. Happy first birthday, sinkhole. So you watch the video and they talk to the city and they say, hey, what's going on? And the guy, the public works guy says, well, federal paperwork, they want to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So for 1 year, you've been filling out paperwork while this huge sinkhole, and it's not like small, it's not like a pothole.
It is a large sinkhole.
Well, this sinkhole has just been sitting there for a year. And then it's near businesses, and they're getting put out because of it.
One guy's lost 20% of his business.
Yeah, so we're doing paperwork all year. Oh, we're almost done now. At first I was like, oh my God, look at these crazy people. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? Put some pressure on the city. Get this thing fixed.
How is this not a safety issue, number one? And just makes a city look bad. And, okay, so the amount they need, $3.3 million. I get it. It's a lot of money. And it's right, when you watch the video, it's right next to an intersection. It's right, it's going to take a lot of effort to fix it. But for crying out loud, it's a year. And, like you said, the quote was, the federal process is very lengthy, and they do check to make sure all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted in order for us to proceed. But that is just that cannot be an excuse to not, do the very best you can. $3.3 million to a city like that. I don't know if it's exorbitant or not. I'm guessing it is, but still, a year for this? Unbelievable.
I mean,
unbelievable.
Yeah, the city obviously doesn't have the money to start fixing it. They're looking for the feds to fix it, but they're not exactly going quick here. So, more power to them. I after reading the story, I love the idea.
And then, after all of that, so we're still in limbo, cutting through the red tape right now. Caltrans is the California Transportation Authority. They dole out the money. So we're not even at that point yet where they've got a check in hand. Even when they get the money, it's going to be another 3 months to fix this thing. 3 months.
Yeah.
So they very well could be looking at another year until this thing's done.
Yeah, could be a second birthday. You know what?
I might go.
Which is the sinkholes, as everybody knows, a sinkhole's most important birthday is their second birthday.
Of course. The terrible twos.
Terrible twos.
Who could forget?
Oh my God. Well, good for the people who did that. I was like, that's a pretty good idea. It's a pretty creative way to, to flip the city the bird and be like, hey, fix this, please.
Yeah. You think any city officials got some cake?
Oh, 100%. I guarantee. 100%. Yeah, they don't have the money to fix the sinkhole. They might not have the money to eat, so they need the cake. They'll take the free food.
The people that had the cake should have thrown the rest of it at City Hall. Just thrown it on the door. Just
threw a cake. You want a funny story about a cake?
I'm all ears.
I got a funny story about a cake. I was working a temp job one summer, and just to get money, get beer money one summer, and there was a guy. We used to go on our lunch break, and we used to eat in our cars, wherever. It wasn't like we're movers. We used to eat in a car. We came back, and this guy was covered in blue. And we go, what happened? He goes, I took a nap with my window down, and somebody threw a cake at me. And I laughed in his face. I was like, I couldn't. He's like, and he was cool about it. He was like, yeah, it's probably some kids. Okay, man.
They threw a cake at me.
Somebody threw a cake at me. It's the most absurd thing, but I'll never forget it. It was covered in blue frosting. That's what he threw a cake at me.
You know what? I was expecting something else, but that was a really good cake story. Really
Thank you. That was
That's
an all-timer.
It's an all-timer.
I'll tell it.
Cake.
Yeah, I'll tell it again. I'll tell it next time we bring up the cakes.
Love it.
Okay. All right, big news There's big news this week, Nate. Big news.
Yes,
well, I don't know. Depends on who you ask if it was big news.
You ask me.
Yeah. So as you all might have heard earlier this week, Rachel Maddow, host of the Rachel Maddow Show on MSNBC, which is one of their higher rated shows, as is.
Yes, it is.
It's one of their flagship primetime shows. Earlier this week, she sends out a tweet, Trump tax returns tonight. Seriously. Now, obviously, Trump tax returns been a big deal. Why? He hasn't released them. So this tweet sets off a social media firestorm ahead of her show that night. Nate, then what happened?
Yep. Well, they released the tax returns, and like you said, depending on who you ask, I don't know. It was a tax.
Kind of a dud.
It was a tax return. I mean, it was a tax return.
He paid
his 2005 tax return. He paid $38 million in taxes, which was, I think, 20-something-ish percent, 23%, I believe, of his revenue, of his earnings, and which begs the question: is he really a billionaire? And we kind of got to thinking, what does this say about using social media, number one, and the scoop or breaking news? We'll call it. Yeah. We'll call it both of that. Where do we draw the line? And then, are people mad about this because it was just that? What are we really going to hype up? So this goes and begs the question to local news as well. When you send out a push alert or when you cut into local programming to do a breaking news story, what exactly are we talking about here? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about first of all, Matt.
And so let's start with, I guess, the pros for at least Maddow. So she sends out this tweet, and that night for her show, she gets 4 million plus viewers. How many viewers does she usually get, Nate?
I dug that up. On a normal Tuesday night, she's around 2.5 to 2.6 million viewers.
So people tuned in.
They did.
People tuned in for this because obviously this is a big deal. Trump didn't release his tax returns. He's basically the first president candidate since Richard Nixon that didn't do it. Gerald Ford released a tax summary, but he's the first president since Nixon that didn't release his tax returns. Nixon released them, and that gave us his famous quote, "I am not a crook," because he said people need to make sure the president's not a crook. I am not a crook when he was being audited. Trump says he can't release them because he's being audited. So it's this big thing about his tax returns. How much is he really worth? Who's he actually doing business with? There's a lot of layers to this. If you're asking, well, why are the tax returns important? Basically, you need to know the president isn't using money and then creating policy to further his own agenda. That is something that all Americans should know, in my opinion. That is transparency. I think it's a big deal. Now, Maddow says Trump tax returns. She's got millions of followers. 6 million?
6.6 million Twitter followers.
She has 6.6 million Twitter followers. They all have followers. So obviously you tweet this out. And when she tweeted it out, I saw it immediately. And I don't even follow her. I follow other people that kept retweeting it. So then what do I see on Twitter? You better deliver tonight. Everybody's watching. You're under a lot of pressure. So Maddow gets to her show, and I almost immediately see backlash because people wanted it now. Now, most of these people have never watched the Rachel Maddow show. I watched one, and it's basically this. Yeah. It's like a stream of consciousness, really, where she just keeps building to a crescendo. So when people didn't get those tax returns in the first 10 minutes, people got pissed off. They freaked out and basically already declared this a dud. Even before that, excuse me, I know I'm going on a tangent here.
You're good.
The White House tried to get ahead of this, and they released this 2005 tax reform document, tax return document. They released it right before the show. Other outlets then got the same document. So she kind of a lot of people tuned in there, but other people were already getting out what she was building up to. But back to the ratings. She got 1.5 million to 2 million more people that night than she normally would have. So from that standpoint, I say, no matter what she ended up saying, that's a win for her. She's in the public conversation. That's a win. She picked out something. She had something that before we hadn't seen. So she had something. It was a topic of conversation because of the president and everything that's going on with him. And she used social media to her advantage. So from that standpoint, that's a win, my opinion.
Yeah, I believe it's a win too. Because going back to our conversation last week, you've got advertisers to make happy. And when they see that big bump and they say, oh my gosh, we got another 40% tacked on to your normal audience that's going to see our ads, it's going to see, what you've got. That's a great thing. And her ratings, and Nielsen had a weird week. They had trouble releasing or gathering some of the data from the cable shows and whatnot. So I don't know the official numbers just yet, but you probably gain another few eyeballs just because off of that one show. And we're always looking, at least in local news, and we'll kind of shift to local news a little bit here. In local news, you're always looking for an event that will set you apart from the competition, because in a market like Phoenix or Birmingham or, name a market, you get a big event that goes on. You want to cover it first. You also want to cover it accurately, but you want to differentiate yourself from the pack somehow to get eyeballs over to you. And you do that by using social media and getting people's conversation going. Oh, look what channel, 48 has. Oh, they've got this. Does the other channel have that? No, I better turn over to channel 48 and see what they've got going on. That's what happens. That's how, ratings get, and that's how you can turn around a third or fourth place station in a market to make it a second or first place station. All it takes is one event. And Maddow showed that you can do that by one event. This event happened to be a little bit more anticlimactic than some other events probably, but that's how That's how this business works, man. All you need is eyeballs. All you need is eyeballs. And if you get a million more viewers, okay, if you retain just a quarter of that, you're still golden. You're still way you're still in the eyes of your advertisers. You're still doing you're plus in the ledger. You're doing way better than you were before.
And here's the balancing act, and so I've had to deal with this too. If I have something that I know the other stations don't, and I tweet it out immediately, my story doesn't air till 5, let's say it's 1 in the afternoon. I give the other stations 4 hours to go get exactly what I have.
Correct.
And I actually found, this has already happened to me a couple times here in Phoenix. The other day, speaking of social media, we had this crazy day 2 days ago. We had a guy allegedly committed a murder in the morning. Police were tailing him or chasing him. He carjacked somebody at gunpoint, is fleeing the cops, jumps out of that moving vehicle, carjacks another person. It's a yellow Corvette. Goes on a high-speed chase on the freeway, and it ends. He crashes. They ram into him, and they end up shooting and killing him. It was a wild day. Now, I was at one of the scenes of the carjackings. Now, I didn't know if the other stations had this or not, but when he jumped out of his first carjacked vehicle, he jumped out of the moving vehicle, and it crashed into a barbershop. Now, I was at the barbershop, and I was talking to the guy with all the damage, and they were trying to fix the door. I didn't know if the other stations had this guy. I had no idea. And I was wondering, well, what do I do here? Do I tweet this out? Do I say, hey? Do I let, the ABC and the CBS, because they're all we all follow each other on Twitter. So that's the dilemma. Now, with Maddow in this tax return document, like I said, the White House got out in front of it and still ended up releasing it before she went on air. So the dilemma that I think a lot of us face with social media, on one side of the coin, as we just said, one event on social media spikes your viewers, in her case, 1.5 to 2 million. Amazing. If she only, if she's drawing 2.5 million or 2, that's, she's almost doubling her audience. So one event does that. On the flip side, are you spoiling your dinner? I mean, are you giving the people what they want instantly and not tuning in, or giving the competition the chance to catch up to you? It's a weird, in my opinion, it's a weird dynamic. And I wish I had an answer for this because, like I said, it's a balancing act. So on one hand, you want to give the viewers the chance to say, hey, we have this and you should tune in. On another, well, okay, I already see what you have, so why am I going to tune in? And on the third, okay, now the competition gets a chance to catch up to you. So, and that is the delicate part of this whole thing.
So I'm going to look up the exact wording of her tweet because I think that might be what we could kind of dive into. Okay. So on March 14th, and it's important to note the time here. So her show airs at 9:00 Eastern time. Okay. She tweeted this out at 7:36 Eastern time. Breaking. We've got Trump tax returns tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, MSNBC. Seriously. And actually her use of the word, or her use of seriously, and then she puts a period at the end. There's some debate over whether that's grammatically correct or that's neither here nor there. Okay.
Okay.
Then she tweets, what we've got is from 2005. The president's 1040 form. Details to come tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, MSNBC.
When was that tweet sent?
That tweet was sent at 8:24. So almost an hour later.
Almost an hour later. So we've already had an hour of firestorm social media.
Yeah. And then right before her show starts, no, I'm sorry. Right during her show, White House reaction to tonight's tax return scoop coming up right now, MSNBC. So this was after. And she even used the word scoop. So what I'm thinking is, what if she had just said, breaking, information on Trump financial records or something of the like. That's still true.
Sure.
But you're not saying exactly what you've got. And I would beg to differ, or I would beg to say that if you said breaking news about Trump's financial records, I bet you got a bigger spike. What do you think?
I don't know.
Because it's so broad, you could read a lot into that. You could read a lot into that, and you're not lying to anybody. You're not lying to anybody.
Then you get into a situation of you're over promising and under delivering, which people say she already did.
She already did. So if you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
But tax returns was the buzzword. That was the search engine optimization term. That was the SEO. That was the hashtag. Tax returns was the key. All of a sudden, because you know this as well as I do, people read the headline. Like I said, I read the headline of this pothole, and I was like, "Oh my God, birthday party for a pothole. This seems like a good." People read the headline, so they see, "Wow, Trump tax returns." You know, they don't always click the article. So I don't know. Financial information, like, I see what you're saying. I see the intrigue. You know, the mysterious. Okay, what is it?
Very ambiguous, but
yes,
you can cover a lot of ground. You can cover a lot of ground with that. But
then all of a sudden, when you use the buzzword, you tap into the conversation. In my opinion, you get that really starts the fire, and to go back to, did she overpromise and underdeliver? She had a Trump tax return. Was it salacious? No. I mean, he made $100+ million, paid $30+ million. There was no write-off to Russia. You know, there was no.
Yeah.
There was, you know, the only question I had after it was, I thought this guy was a billionaire. Now, is that me scoffing at $130 million or whatever? No, but yeah, I thought this guy was a billionaire. So, look, in local news, yes, I believe you have to do things like this. In all news, you have to do things like this. Because at the end of the day, you need eyeballs on the product. You need butts in the seats, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think overall, if we're picking a winner and a loser here, if we're grading this, I say A+ job by Maddow. I mean, like, A+. She started the social media fire. Now, what we should do next week, and what we'll make a note to do this, let's take a look at her ratings next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Does
the audience hold over?
Good
because
idea.
that will be the key. Did this work? Did the audience hold over? I mean, she was on late night talk shows this week talking about it. She was on Fallon. She really did get eviscerated on Twitter after, you know, she didn't come right out with it. But does this keep her ratings up? Ratings up, advertisers happy, more money, everyone's happy.
Yeah,
so
but the people that were eviscerating her, they weren't her
core
followers. No,
not at all.
They weren't her core followers. She still kept that 6.6 million follower account. And you know what? Like I said, even if she got, you know, a quarter of the eyeballs that tuned in, a quarter of that 4 million or that 1.5 million extra viewers, she's happy. Everybody's happy, just like you said. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll go back and look and check it out next week. It's a good idea. Because I bet you her ratings are up. And I looked at this, and she's the second highest rated in that juicy 18 to 49 demographic. She's right behind Bill O'Reilly. She's right behind Bill O'Reilly in actual numbers too. And she's second or third, very consistently, second or third on the big three networks during that primetime cable news. So you've got O'Reilly and Hannity and her and you know, a few others, but she's right in that second or third.
Cooper's probably third. Yeah, I mean, I think regardless of what she did do, I think this, like, I'll go back to it. I think it's a win, and I think doing that stuff on social media is a necessity. It is a necessity, but it's a balancing act. at 7:30 when she tweeted that out, or 7:34, whatever it was, she gave people an hour and a half to catch up, and then the White House did get in front of it. And then you had other news outlets. I know the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN even had a breaking on, because I was watching all the monitors in our newsroom. CNN had a cut in about tax information on Anderson Cooper's show. So she gave people a chance to catch up, but she got the eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she got, there was, you know, she was number one that night. So that's a win. And the only thing that got lost in it was that it was just not the bombshell that everybody was looking for.
Yeah. So let's do this. We're going to continue this conversation next week. What we're going to touch on next week, we'll review, see if Rachel Maddow hung on to some of those viewers. We'll also talk about when to do these types of social media posts. When do you start crying wolf? Where's the line? Where do you draw the line? How much do you do this? You know, do you do this once a week, once a month, you know, 2 times a week, something like that? When do people get desensitized to it? And then we'll also talk about what's breaking news. So that should be a really fun conversation, because I've got some Matt on airplanes opinions about breaking news.
Breaking, all caps. I love that on Twitter. Breaking.
Developing. Talk about buzzwords. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll discuss that stuff. Matt, you got anything you want to add before we close it on that, bud?
No, I picked Arizona in the NCAA bracket in honor of my move here. I think it's good mojo, so go Cats.
So it's always good when you're picking for a bracket, and maybe if you got a little something extra on the line, it's always good to pick with your heart and not your head. That's what I always say. Really good move there, Matt. I got Kansas going all the way this year. I don't know why. I've been burned by Kansas twice.
Wow, really pick with your head there, huh? I don't know why.
They look like the best team to me. I think Villanova might be a little bit overrated. Gonzaga is a very weak 1 seed. North Carolina, they can be had as well. Kansas just looks good. They got size. You know, they're sometimes they're hot and cold.
I can see them winning or losing.
I can see them winning or losing. Really, just like
Kansas winning or losing. Wouldn't surprise me either way. I could see them winning or losing.
Tell the folks where they can find that Mike Francesa clip. Oh my God!
All right, last part. So if you haven't
great.
heard of him, one of the great sports journalists of our time, Mike Francesa, host of Mike's On. He was formerly Mike and the Mad Dog on WFAN in New York. 660. The Fan. I grew up listening to him. He's an icon and a god over there to the New York listeners. But if you follow any sports media on Twitter or Deadspin or The Big Lead, they'll always post about a Mike Francesa flub, and he flubbed this week.
Big time.
To BS his way through some bracketology, breaking down Maryland and a potential matchup against Florida State.
Which isn't going to happen now because Maryland lost.
Maryland lost. He said they already played, forgot they were in the Big Ten, and then his analysis was they're hot and cold. I could see them winning or losing. Bang up job. New York's #1 rated sports show.
Just great.
Yeah. So check it out. Mike Francesa. Always a wealth of knowledge.
Our flub of the week here on Working Behind the Screen. All right. That's going to do it for episode 12. We will see everybody next week.